Good evening. I want to welcome everybody to the October 8th, 2018 special meeting of the Jersey Village City Council. Madam Secretary, a quorum is present.
Yes.
There you go. Moving to item B, the fiscal 2018-2019 municipal budget items. Item 1, we're going to conduct the second public hearing, giving all persons interested the right to appear and to be heard on the proposal to increase total tax revenues from properties on the tax roll in the preceding tax year by 1.41%, percentage by which proposed tax rates exceed the lower of the rollback tax rate or effective tax rate calculated under Chapter 26 Tax Code. With that, I will now call to order this second public hearing on the City of Jersey Village's proposal to increase tax revenues from properties on the tax roll in the preceding tax year by 1.41%. Everyone desiring to speak at this hearing should complete a public hearing comment card and present the card to the City Secretary. The purpose of today's hearing is to give all interested parties the right to appear and be heard at the city's proposal to increase the tax rate revenues from properties on the tax roll in the preceding year by 1.41%. I would now like to request City Finance Director Isabel Cato to summarize the subject of this public hearing. Isabel?
Yes. Good evening, City Council and members and Jersey Village residents. This is the second public hearing for the 2018-19 proposed tax rate. Here you can see the comparisons of all the property values since 2012 and the slight increase from 2017 to 2018. Mainly that had to do with new properties in the tax roll. Here are the different values by category with substantial changes. The biggest one was the real vacant commercial, decreased by 48%, followed by tangible commercial by 24%, real vacant 23%, and an increase in tangible industrial by 35%. Those are the same thing that were in the first graph. It's just the numbers since 2012 through 2018 of the assets valuation for property tax assets valuation. Those are the different rates that we're considering tonight. The current tax rate is 0.7425. We're proposing the same tax rate of 0.7425. The effective tax rate is higher than the proposed tax rate and the current tax rate by 0.742992, and the rollback tax rate is lower because we decreased a debt in our books. We paid off the 290 expansion debt due to the reimbursement from TxDOT, and so we had to close that debt. This is the definition of the effective tax rate. It's the effective tax rate generates the same amount of revenue in the new fiscal year on taxable property that was in the tax roll the previous year. This is like a benchmark tax rate. The rollback tax rate is the sum of the rollback maintenance and operations and the debt service rate. That's the reason why it got lower, because we dropped a debt from our books, and that's why it went lower than the proposed tax rate. Those are the difference between the debt service rate between 2017 and 18. As you can see, it dropped by 0.8524, and then the operation and maintenance increased for the same amount due to the taking off that debt from the books. Those are the differences, the same thing that we saw before, but in $1 million. Those are the definitions for operation and maintenance. Is that we're paying salaries, supplies, day-to-day operations. The debt service is paying the interest and principal on bonds that they're secured by property taxes. We also are paying some of the different construction projects that we have with the excess revenue, like improvements on public facilities and also the flood mitigation projects. Those are the different tax rates since 2012, but we haven't changed the tax rates since 2007. It's always been 0.7425. Those are the two debt service payments that we are to make in fiscal year 2018-19. The $498.850, it's for the general obligation 2012, and the $1,016,000 is for the general obligation 2016. And those are the total debt service amount that we have in our books. The $7,921,325 has to do with the general obligation 2016, the $5,971,775 with the general obligation 2012. And that concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Isabel? Okay, now I'll go to the public hearing comments. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes this evening. The first comment I have is Mark Malloy.
Hi, my name's Mark Malloy, and I live at 7803 Hamilton Circle, past city council member for the city of Jersey Village, Texas. Citizens' comments for the 10/8/2018 public hearing on the 1.41% property tax revenue increase. Please make my verbal comments and documents given to the city secretary a permanent record of this meeting. The way the city of Jersey Village, Texas is able to fund the construction of a new city hall, pay for a treated wastewater supplemental golf course irrigation project, build a new golf course clubhouse convention center, build a new public works facility, purchase an estimated 23.4 acre piece of raw undeveloped land for an estimated $5.25 million without getting the approval of the Jersey Village citizens is because over many years the appraisal values of their properties within the city's taxing jurisdiction has significantly increased, allowing the city government to receive larger and larger amounts of property tax revenue without raising the property tax rate. For many years, the proposed tax rate has been higher than the actual rate needed to operate the city. The city government in the early 2000s had the intention to build a new city hall facility, do a renovation to the fire department building, and do the first round of residential street utility replacements such as street lights, water lines, and sewer lines, as well as storm drainage upgrades, and from what I understand was going to lump all projects under one bond referendum. Citizens that wanted the project separated into separate projects that could be voted on by the registered voters had to go house to house to get a petition signed by the citizens to present to their city government to allow each project to be voted for or against during an election. The voters approved the first street and utilities replacement project and renovations to the fire department facility, but did not approve the new city hall project. The city government on October 17, 2007 decided to create an unassigned facilities fund to accumulate revenue to be able to do projects that would allow decisions to be made to fund projects without asking the citizens if they wanted the projects to be done. The city government has chosen to set the homestead exemption rate at 8% instead of the maximum state of Texas allowed 20% for the citizens that live in the city of Jersey Village, Texas, which has allowed them to receive additional revenue. I have come to the city's tax rate hearing over the years that I've lived in the city of Jersey Village, Texas, and asked the city government to not take the property tax revenue increase, but they have always decided to keep the proposed tax rate, which has allowed the city government to receive increased property tax revenue. The city government is most likely going to say, Mr. Malloy, you are wrong in saying we have accumulated very large property tax reserves. My question to them is how, then, is the city able to pay for all the above-mentioned city government spending without going to the taxpayers through a bond referendum during a yearly city election or a city special election to fund the above-mentioned projects? A current city council member of the city of Jersey Village, Texas, has posted on a website that over the last 4 years, the average single-family home in the city of Jersey Village, Texas, has seen their property taxes go up by 22.46% when adjusted for inflation. I have seen, by keeping informed, that the increase in property tax revenue the city has been able to keep from the year 2012 to the year 2017 is an astounding estimated 32% because they have chosen to accept the additional property tax revenue instead of adjusting the tax rate to receive the same amount that was brought in the previous year. The rollback tax means the city government would bring in the same amount of property tax revenue as what they received in the previous budget year. I'm very tired of hearing the incorrect statements of our elected officials that if they don't keep the additional property tax revenue, they will have to cut core city services such as police protection, fire protection, water service, sewer service, and trash service. That to me is a load of garbage, seeing the amount of taxpayer money being spent on non-essential things. I am also tired of hearing promises from elected officials that if we develop this or we spend money doing that, they will somehow be able to decrease the tax burden on the citizenry. The answer to those promises is that will most likely never happen. The political officials seem to always find a need for any additional revenue they get into their hands. Thank you.
Laurel Calkins. We don't have a later.
Mine is Laurel Calkins, 16,001 Wall Street. Essentially, I just wanted to offer the city an idea for something that I saw in some travels recently in small towns that all have volunteer fire departments, which we largely have too. I saw our fire department open house notice, and I'm wondering why we're not combining that with a barbecue, a fundraiser of some kind. Every little town that I went through this fall was having some kind of a barbecue. I think the residents would turn out and buy plates of barbecue. I think the firemen would have a ton of fun cooking off against each other. We could get donated supplies from Kroger, H-E-B. You know, we could maybe buy one of those new vehicles we're always trying to, spend tax money on. But the point is, I think we're missing an opportunity, and I just wanted to plant the thought for next time. It's a little late for this year, but wanted to mention it while it was fresh. Thank you.
Nancy Yetter.
Hi there. My name's Nancy Yetter. I live at 16121 Capri, not as organized as Mr. Malloy, and thank you for all the effort and work you put into your stuff. But just in case somebody doesn't get the message, I want to pay less in taxes. I want to have more discretionary money of my own. I'd like to have, money to spend on health care, spend on grandkids. I don't want to get just a portion of my homestead exemption. I think I'm due the whole exemption. The money that we have that we seem to be spending pretty freely on varieties of things are not necessities. If we have it after we have the whole exemption, the 20%, great. But I want to spend less in taxes here and with the school and with the county and everything. But it doesn't seem to get the point across. So I thought I'd stand up and say it. Thank you.
Michael and Anna Stembridge.
Michael and Anna Stembridge, 15422 Jersey Drive. We got some news today that because we're in the floodway, that we can't get a redo, a buyout, or an elevation. That's all fine. I'm very hopeful for the bayou widening, and we're very supportive of that with the tax dollars and everything, or with the county tax dollars, whatever. And but we're not for this increase because we know that houses around us are going to be tore down and redone. They're going to get a new house, and paying and the taxes for that. We're just scared. We're scared because you're messing with the Wall Street weir. You're widening up the weir. You're increasing flow on Capri, Wall Street, and Crawford from 24 to 48 inches, if that's still the plan. We had the mayor's plan, which was a beautiful plan. That was a 3-phase plan, and we were told, first that we were in there, and then we were told we were in the second round. And now this, we've learned today that this whole plan has been changed, and we're frightened. I have to go home and look a 7-year-old daughter in the eye tonight. I have to go home with my wife and go to sleep tonight, and I feel like I've failed. I've done something wrong. I've made somebody mad. I don't know. I've done bad, and I'm sorry. But My wife, it was up to her knees, and she's got health issues. It was up to my belt buckle in the backyard. My daughter, every time it thunders, she screams. Do your kids scream every time it thunders? Maybe you, Andy, maybe it happens. But we've all got flood PTSD, and I'm trying to come up here and act like a man. This isn't some online rant. This isn't some rave. I'm coming up here, and politics aside, we're saying this is unacceptable. We need something done. We're in the floodway. The issue is there's a FEMA rule or a FEMA law that we can't get a redo until maybe the flood maps are changed or something. And then we were also told by somebody with the city that we can't get a buyout or an elevation. And so we're horrified in that house. We are. And everything was fine when the buy was being widened. But now that they're doing stuff with Wall Street and the weir and all this kind of stuff, we are worried. Our flood PTSD is activated. And so I think the appropriate thing was to come here that we explain that. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? I don't have any other cards. Are any other comments for this public hearing? Going once. Going twice. Okay, seeing that no one else is desiring to speak, the City Council will meet on Monday, October 15th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center, 16327 Lakeview Drive, Jersey Village, Texas, for the purpose of voting on the proposed tax rate. And that there's no one else desiring to speak, I'll now close the second public hearing on the city's proposal to increase total tax revenues from properties on the tax roll in the preceding year by 1.41%. And that will conclude the budget items on our agenda this evening. We'll move into item C, special session items. Item 1, consider resolution number 2018-65, authorizing the city manager to apply for a grant from FEMA to elevate homes. City Manager Austin Blease.
Mayor and councilors, based upon the workshop that we held earlier this evening, this resolution would authorize us to apply for grant funding to elevate homes. It would also commit the city to paying the required match for that grant program.
All right, any questions for Austin?
Austin, on the FEMA buyout portion, which is related to this, are homes in the floodway not eligible, based on your understanding, for buyouts? I understand an elevation or something along those lines, so like a remediation, but does that apply also to buyouts?
So homes in the floodway are eligible. They are eligible for buyouts and elevations. They are not eligible for the mitigation reconstruction.
Okay, so just to be clear, Mr. Stembridge is not cut completely out just against remediation. Elevation and buyout is still on the table.
Elevation and buyout is still on the table, not in this round of the grant application.
Yeah, just not on this round. Not always, just for this round. Okay, so we've clearly got that straightened out. I just want to make sure. I don't want someone going home thinking they'll never be eligible for any help from the federal government.
Any other questions for Austin? All right, looking for a motion on the resolution.
I move we approve resolution number 2018-65.
I'll second.
There's been a motion second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 2, consider resolution number 2018-66, authorizing the city manager to apply for a grant for FEMA for mitigation reconstruction projects. City Manager Austin Blease.
Mayor and councilors, once again, based upon the workshop held earlier, this resolution would authorize me to apply for grant funding for the mitigation reconstruction for the 4 homes.
Any questions for Austin? Looking for a motion on the resolution.
I move to approve resolution number 2018-66.
I'll second.
There's been a motion second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 3, consider resolution number 2018-67, authorizing the city manager to apply for a grant from FEMA to plan for mitigation projects.
Mayor and councilors, once again, based upon the workshop held earlier, this resolution will authorize the city manager to apply for grant funding for the E127 project. This resolution commits the city to funding the cost share of the project. As this will be a joint project with the flood control district, they would reimburse the city for some or all of the costs required.
Any questions for Austin? Seeing none, looking for a motion on the resolution.
I move to approve resolution number 2018-67.
I'll second.
There's been a motion second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. That'll actually bring us to the adjournment of this evening. Thank you very much for everybody's attendance. Meeting adjourned.